Well, John,
Hello, Oliver.
now, how did you pass your time with the coronavirus?
Was this what thought yapping about lockdowns and isolation and if you're over a certain age, shall we say you're over 50 and you look as if you're 70,
Yeah.
or you're over 70 and you look as if you're 100. You were not supposed to go anywhere.
Is there any truth in the rumour that John Malone, right throughout the coronavirus, was hanging around in shebeens?
Well, it would have been if there was any of them over. There was a lot of sour and thirsty individuals going around, as far as we could see. But in any event, now I had a story made about Coronaville, where we were all going around with masks. And now I never didn't wear a mask, no matter what to say. But they were going around with masks, and so nobody could come into the town unless the stated their business, and because we didn't want anybody to catch the coronavirus. So this is Coronaville, and it was made Coronaville, so we didn't want the virus coming into Coronaville. So we went around with masks, and there was one snide at the same time was because men and women wear trousers, and so with the shortage of barbers over, we didn't know who was who or what was
You didn't
what.
know who was a boy and who was a girl?
No, or who was a man or a woman. So we sort of say greetings to the mask, and then when you talk to the mask, you still didn't know what to wear. So it was confusion caused that. We called a meeting with the council. We had our own council. And even at the council meeting, we didn't know which of them was which, and they didn't know who was who either. As a matter of fact, some didn't know I was, and they called me something else. And I called some of them something else other than what to wear. So you can see for this Coronaville, now we were all quite confused, and we were trying to figure a way that maybe you could put a sign on yourself as to who you were. I'm such one, and then you could kind of, with the mask, well, you didn't know what to wear, but with the sign on them, that's what we come up with. I'm John, or John, but we come across ones that had names that you didn't know whether it was male or female.
And what about the other, you said two there, man and woman. What about the other 70 genders?
Well, you see, there was no place for them because you couldn't, then you wouldn't know where you were.
Yeah.
So we just had to stick to,
I'm John and you're Maria.
You had to write it down because when you spoke to the mask, your voice didn't sound like what normally.
I get you now, yes.
Yeah. So we didn't know, so they had to wear something in big letters because some of us are short-sighted. We can't be going up and just gawking at them, especially if they're a woman. And lads,
You have to be a gentleman.
Yeah, you can't go out and just say, what's that you have there? So you get a slap in the face and your mask might slip off. So you're going to get the corona business.
Yes.
And it was also during that period, there was a wind one of the days. Now we're getting about Coronaville. That's another story. I'll tell that more another day. But there was a wind there where there was no wind because there was nice sunshine for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But as I was in my house and the wind was howling outside and the trees were dancing, because there's trees where I live. I'm not in an urban environment, I'm in a rural environment. The trees were dancing, and you know something? The trees danced in the breeze and I danced too with you.
Oh,
I danced too with you. You in heaven's bliss look down at me.
so this is a poem for Julie, is it?
Yeah. Well, it's just struck me at the time.
Very nice.
And this is the sort of thing I do. And there's a bit of nice music on the radio. I often watch about, and I pick her over in the kitchen and I say, "Come on." That's the way you go.
Okay.
Very good. You can talk to things. I even talk to the kettle at times. Say, you're taking a long time to boil there.
Yeah, well
and this sort of
do you remember I was telling you before about my Aunt Mary? She used to talk to the cows.
Well, at least it was talking to something.
She used to say to some of them, "You're exactly like your mother."
At least that's something. That was something. Was I'm talking to. I say, yeah, the kettle. I say, so you're long time boiling there. If I went out there, you'd be freaking boiling, just boil off and the bloody pot as well.
Yeah.
You're taking a long time to boil. But if I stick my snout out the door and forget about it, just the next thing you're spilling over.
I'd only worry, John, if the kettle starts talking back to you.
And the same with sharp knives. And say that after just the way you have humour. I say, I'll get you into the drawer, you'd be trying to cut me, won't you? Get in there. So this is the sort of humour you can have,
Yeah.
even if you're on your Todd. Anyways, there was an item, this corona business. Now, they say it's something to do with bats. Did you hear that?
I did hear it was.
Aye, well, anyways, this is one that was written by Christopher Monkton about bats in the Bernini belfries. I just read it and I hope now that you'll enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, the twin bell towers on the principal front of St. Peter's Basilica are not by Bernini. His design failed, though through no fault of his own, and was eventually rejected. But the Pope, perhaps influenced by the news that the Chinese say the virus originated in bats that infected live animals for sale at the Hunan seafood market in Wuhan, has been preaching and tweeting about bats. Yes, folks, bats. During a recent sermon, the Pope said, "The light came into the world, but people preferred darkness to light because their works are evil." Jesus also takes this from the light. There are people, even us too, many times, who cannot live in the light because we are accustomed to darkness. The light stuns them. They can't see. They are human bats. They only know how to move about in the night. Oh. Later in the same sermon, and in the day-to-day, in the daily question we can ask ourselves, do I walk in the light or do I walk in darkness? Am I a child of God or do I end up being the poor bat? The Pope was so pleased with the bat analogy that he tweeted about it the same day. When we are in a state of sin, we are like human bats who can move only about at night. We find it easier to live in darkness because the light reveals to us what we do not want to see. But when our eyes grow accustomed to darkness, and we no longer recognise the light. However, the Pope has been silent about the battiness of the Walt Disney Empire, which has decided for some reason to promote and parade various forms of sexual deviancy in its films for children. My generation was allowed innocent childhood, but not today's little ones. Just before the Chinese virus lockdown, campaigners against the pollution of children's movies with such disturbing propaganda attended Disney shareholders meeting and asked the chief executive, one Chapek, what message he had for the 700,000 people who had signed a petition asking Disney to keep its films and theme parks family friendly and not host such events as Bloom Pride. Chapek failed to answer that one. Instead, Disney confirmed that they wanted to increase their commitment in this area, as fine an instance of newspeak as you would find. And that means shareholders in Disney had better dump the stock while the going's good, because as the unspeakable BBC discovered when they tried to make the children's programme Doctor Who politically correct, kids don't like to be preached to. The latest incarnation of Doctor Who, a woman, Natch, has flatlined in the ratings, getting smaller audiences than just about all of the dozen made Doctors who preceded her. The opening weekend of Onward, Disney Pictures' latest film, theoretically intended to amuse children, confirms that ordinary people are fed up to the back teeth with relentless hard-left propaganda dolled up as entertainment for children. Based on the opening, which took place before Chinese virus lockdown could do any damage to the ticket sales, Onward is gloriously a whale of a flop. The most likely explanation is that it is first Disney film to feature an openly homosexual character. Right, the film has been banned in 4 countries and shunned everywhere else. When onward bombed, Disney's share price, what did it do? Nosedived. Nosedived.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way to any corporation's heart. Disney has just learned the hard way that if you're in the business of entertainment for all the family and you serve up gruesome, predatory, hard-left sexual ideology instead, you'll go deservedly bust.
Very good.
Aye. Now that parents cannot trust the Disney brand to be child-friendly, they will vote with their feet and their pennies and stay away, and an empire once founded on its appeal to the little ones will fade into the fog of history, remembered fondly for the unassuming but reliable morality that, though the sullen, tuggish chappie has not learned the lesson in time, was Disney's most precious asset. Can you imagine that?
Mm-hmm.
Disney, there was so the family, but now bombed with its own stupidity and the stupidity of its managing director, Chappie. I think you could try to think of a name. Now, what this hearing story of gross and corporate misjudgment and consequent financial failure demonstrates is that the traditional Christian family is still, as it will always be, a force to be reckoned with. And this is where the church comes in. She is wholly family friendly. Instead of meandering about bats or nature punishing us with the Chinese virus because of climate change, His Holiness should cease to espouse the communism that gave us the virus, and in all his future sermons adhere firmly and without any more deviations to his Missio Canonicio, which is to preach the gospel, the whole gospel, and nothing but the gospel. If I were Pope, I should be speaking out on behalf of the people of Tibet, whose remote and beautiful but defenceless theocracy was invaded and brutally occupied 70 years ago by Chinese communists who covered its great mineral wealth. The West, as usual, did nothing and still does nothing. I should be speaking out on behalf of the people of Taiwan, where the legitimate Chinese government resides. That government has been perhaps the most successful in the world in handling the Chinese virus, but Chinese increasing military aggressiveness and the weakening of the West's will suggest that Taiwan will not remain free for much longer. I should be speaking out on behalf of the millions of Muslim Uyghurs imprisoned without trial or justification in the 21st century Gulag archipelago of concentration camps in the far west of China, where they are re-educated. I should be speaking out on behalf of the Falun Gong, a generally harmless if misguided sect brutally suppressed by the Chinese Communist Party. I should be speaking out on behalf of the numerous victims of Chinese crimes against humanity, both inside and outside China. Every death from the Chinese virus is the direct responsibility of the Communist Party. I should be speaking out on behalf of those who, like the late Dr. Li Wenliang, rightly chosen by Forbes magazine as the face of 219, who tried to get the message out and warn the world, but was arrested and threatened, or like the 7 other doctors whom the regime has made to disappear altogether. Each such disappearance is in itself rightly regarded by the International Criminal Court as a crime against humanity. I should be speaking out on behalf of the thousands of Chinese citizens who have their organs harvested from their living bodies so as to artificially extend the worthless lives of senior officials of the Communist Party. This is what socialists and communists are fit to do. Cannot be trusted. I should be speaking out on behalf of families and children everywhere in condemnation of Disney and too many others who menace family life by promoting communist sexual ideology, that though you would not know this from recent statements by some ill-instructed bishops, is directly and gravely contrary to the teachings of Holy Mother Church. It may be that I have somehow missed His Holiness' speeches on behalf of these and countless others who suffer and die every hour under the oppression of the most calculatingly evil ideology ever invented, communist and socialist. If so, gentle reader, no doubt you will enlighten me. The silence of St. Thomas More thundered throughout Christendom. The silence of the Supreme Pontiff is the squeak of a bat.
Very good, John Malone.
It was an amusing article about a lot of truth in it here and there.
Yeah, well, Christopher Monkton is quite a talented man.
He is, and he's writing in the Catholic Voice. I've heard him speaking, and he was a former editor or what have you of the Universe. He'd be a staunch Catholic. But from that, and they would have, his ancestors would have been persecuted, but managed to hold on to the Catholic faith.
Okay, so what's the magazine that you're reading there? That's called Speaking Out, is it?
No, well, his is called Speaking Out, but it's the Catholic Voice magazine. Comes out every fortnight, and I get it. I got it posted now because the shops that sell it was closed. Now they're open again, so I can get it, but I'll have it for the next couple of months. It comes out every fortnight, and he's writing in it now, and I've heard him speaking at some of the meetings I've been at, and he is great. He calls a spade, and it's marvellous just to hear somebody speaking truth.
Very good. Thank you, John.